Hello, Philadelphia! I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show!
Good morning! It's game day! Happy game day across Philadelphia. You are looking live, right? I wish we had a picture of Lincoln Financial Field. It's dressed up in autumnal, in the colors of autumn. It feels great out there. It's a football morning, right? Crisp breeze, little chill in the air. It's football, and it's the perfect weather for a showdown of the NFC East. Eagles and Commanders tonight, the Amazon game. Wow, this is going to be incredible. This is actually a fun day as the Eagles get the showdown with Washington. This is the Anthony Gargano Show, and we're presented by Rite Aid. Go to riteaid.com, your neighborhood pharmacy, your scripts, right? Whatever you need, flu shots and last-minute stuff for the house, all at Rite Aid. Yeah, this is a monster showdown. And it's interesting, right? I did a Washington radio station this morning, and they're chunked up. They're feeling strong. Yesterday, we had Kevin Nagandi on, and I'm pretty honest about how I feel about the game. And not because I'm wearing the sweatshirt today. This is just more of a, hey, let's have some fun. When you look at this matchup, I just see a really strong matchup in favor of the Eagles right now. I mean, look, Washington is a really good story. I think they're going to be really good. I love Jane Daniels. And I look at that team and I go, impressive, right? Like they've made that jump. And you always see teams that, come out of nowhere and have a big season. You feast on a last place schedule and things kind of come together with a rookie quarterback. And Jaden Daniels is the truth. I'd buy him all day long. He's going to be really, really good. And he's going to be a problem for the Eagles in years to come. However, are they ready? Are they in the state of building that they're ready to come in on a short week after a physical game against the Steelers, come in to Lincoln Financial Field and win? And let's also be real here. Against a team that is in a completely different and trustworthy state of building, right? Like the Eagles are a real contender. They have been a real contender. This is a team that has the bones of the Super Bowl in 2022. This is the team that went 10-1 last year. I don't care how it ended or what it was. They went 10-1, and they beat teams like Kansas City, Miami, Buffalo, along en route to 10-1. This is the bones of a team that is tested. And by the way, you've only added Saquon Barkley and two young, very, very strong cornerbacks, right, to solidify the secondary. When you look at it and you look at the state of where the Eagles are, they're a real contender. Again, you add a team. This is a team, right? The Bones had been to the Super Bowl in 2022. Now you add Barkley to an offense with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and that offensive line. And it looks like Mail-Out will be back. And you look at Goddard, right? You look at where they're at offensively. This is an offense that should click and put up high 20s every game. And defensively, that's, to me, it's been the story all week long. This is a back seven that is now legitimate. It's something that hasn't been legitimate in a while here, right? The back seven. It's always been a defense that lived off its front. It ate off its front. It was, hey, you got to get to the quarterback and then pray. And when they played really good quarterbacks, what happened? They gave up lots of yards. They got riddled down the field. But not anymore. The linebackers have been shored up. And we talked about what all week long, really, for the last few weeks, we've talked about the impact of Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and what they've meant to the back end. And now you have a coordinator like Vic Fangio, who's veteran, seasoned, who's been through this stuff, and it works. So now their defense is in a great spot. Their offense is already potent. This is a team that clearly is number 2 behind the Lions when it comes to being a contender in the NFC. And so now you have a matchup against Washington. We talked about the short week, right? Washington, forget about what happened, and in fact, they lost in a really tough game. Questionable call with questionable spot with Hurts to end that thing. But that was a physical game. And then you had the Eagles coming off of Dallas, which was, you talk about travel you want. That was a vacation, not a business trip. They went to Dallas, destroyed them. Your starters are out in the fourth quarter, and you're already on the Thursday night. So the short week at home, I just love. I love the how the Eagles came off of that kind of game where the Steelers came off of a very difficult physical game. All signs to me point toward the Birds tonight. I would be extremely disappointed if they lost this matchup. I don't see it. I think the Eagles win by margin. I think they put up a lot of points. It's great. Look, Washington got Lattimore, right? I thought that was a really good pickup for them at the deadline. He's still coming off a hamstring, didn't play last week. Even if he plays tonight, how much impact is he going to make? And again, they still have to stop Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I don't say it. Every way I game plan this game, every way I match it up, it comes up Eagles. And it comes up Eagles, to me, by double digits. 10, 13. Kind of take your pick in that sense. I think the Eagles win rather comfortably tonight. So it should be a fun day. And it's a real game. So, again, just because I think they're going to win by double digits doesn't mean I think it's going to be an easy game. It's going to be a real game. It's real competition. Jaden Daniels is the truth. So it's going to be fun, man. I can't wait. All morning long, we got you getting ready to get pumped up for game day. What do you say, boys?
Go Birds!
Go Birds! Give us a screaming eagle, Frazier.
Give it to us. There you go. VG does not like it.
Oh,
what do you say there, man?
What's up, man? This has got all the makings. This, to me, is Kingsbury versus Fangio. And I was digging into some numbers. This is going to be an interesting matchup for the Birds. This offense Kingsbury's running is
He's really –
good.
I'm a Kingsbury fan. I've said it numerous times. I think he's really sharp. I think he's one of the reasons why. Like, you get a talent. We talk about these quarterbacks. So much of it has to do with where they go, who's their OC, what's the system they run, and it works. Jaden Daniels is a great player. He can make all the throws. His eyes are always up, down, looking downfield. He moves, and he can move, but he moves to throw, which is dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know the amount of hurry up he's running down there. So outside of 2 minutes, they're running like 61% of the snaps are hurry up. Do you know since 2002, only 2 teams have had higher rates?
Yeah, the
Chip
Eagles.
Kelly teams. It's wild, man.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And when we think about Washington and the Eagles and the rivalry, it hasn't been much of a rivalry in this century. No. But one of the things that was fun was that Chip Kelly, that Monday night to open that season, the first game of Chip Kelly was against Washington, and the game looked like a video game.
Yeah, and Lattimore is out. Shefty reported that last night. Late. Lattimore is out.
Big wah, wah.
Yeah, and I don't look. I look at it and go, I the way I match it up. I'll start with you, JP. I match it up, and I try to come up with the other side. Like, kind of look. I think the best way to match things up is to look at worst case scenario. So worst case scenario is what for the Eagles? That they struggle a little bit early. That Washington front can get to the quarterback. But again, the recipe is Barkley.
Yeah,
right? The recipe's Barkley against their run against that defense.
It has to be. You hear it all everywhere. It's got to be a Barkley game, right? Because when you look at this Eagles offense thus far, what's been successful is setting up that run, and it's been setting up that pass thus far. And one thing I'm going to look at, though, because, I mean, I know this defensive line for Washington is not the strongest that they probably anticipated, but Jalen Hurts has been holding on to the ball too much, and it's been leading to sacks. I want to see those sacks go down a little bit.
One thing they can do is they can get to the quarterback.
They can.
You know, that's what.
Be a good test
they're
for
not
Jalen.
good against the run, and they have they're suspect in the back end, which is why they went and got Lattimore. But I think you can run on them.
Don't kill yourself,
I do.
cuz just run the ball, and that'll set up the pass. Don't try to complicate it.
The blueprint was the Steelers. I think they ran 36 times for 140 yards, held the ball for 36 minutes. It's just Barkley, man. That's the game plan. They can't. They give up almost 5 yards a carry. This Commanders defense. So I mean, they do sack the quarterback a lot. I think they have a high sack rate, like 8th or 9th best in the league. So take that out of the element. Barkley, play action.
And that play action works. Like we know.
Yep.
And that's where Jalen's at his best when he's throwing the ball 20 to 27 times, right? Like,
yes.
In that window.
Yeah. 22 is a little sweet spot.
Right? Yeah, exactly. In that window, because what that window is it works so well, you know, in conjunction with the run game, and it allows you to go over the top. And we've seen it time and time again. Like that throw downfield to A.J. Brown is money. It's money all day. So as long as you commit to Barkley, that play will be there down the field.
Absolutely.
A.J. Brown in 4 games, cuz I'm looking at him tonight, right? He's had some big games against Washington. 4 games against Washington, he's had 23 catches for 397 yards and 5 touchdowns. I expect them to have at least 1 touchdown here tonight in another big game.
Yeah.
And teams are kind of similar in the sense that they run the ball and they do deep balls.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way both teams operate here. So I'm curious to see Davis, man, on this hurry up. He might be winded quick on the D-line. Like, that is a concern. Like, the inability to substitute in his hurry up.
It is.
I haven't seen him have more like than 12 snaps of the last couple games, so we'll see.
But once he's out there for first down and they're doing hurry up, he's out there.
Right. You can't sub. So that's why you do it.
Yeah. So.
I mean, that's why you can't sub, and that's why you do it. I do think that's legitimate. I think, like, I think about it, if I'm Washington, what I do the same thing, which is a lot of Robinson, who is going to play, and a lot of Eckler. And
they do Wildcats. They run all kinds of formations.
Yeah. And look, their run game is good. This is where defensively it's Bourne and Dean. Yes. Right? Like it's filling gaps.
Was the big test, right? We had tackling issues. No, this is a team that rushes the ball. I didn't know. Also, they either rush the ball or do play action like almost 70% of their plays.
Oh, that's Kingsbury, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a real test for the linebackers.
And he's very, like, his play design is really good. He's real creative.
I love it because he's like the sharp, flashy guy. He had that draft picture with that beautiful house, and then we got grizzled Vic Fangio going to try and like, man,
old school
right?
football. He's a PA guy, right? Like, that's what I am. I'm Vic Fangio. Yeah.
That's a great battle.
Yeah, no, that sub is really cool. I do think there's points scored tonight. I know it's, you know, when two teams like to run, should shorten the game a little bit. But I could see points tonight.
Yeah, I think because they love the deep ball, these two teams. So yeah,
we're have some points tonight.
But we give not we. You know, the youngsters, they don't give up a lot of deep balls.
No.
Dude, that's why I feel great about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel great about this thing again. Like, McLaurin's legit. Like, he's a terrific player down the field. But I look at it, and it goes back to San Quinion.
Sam Quinion.
He's getting one tonight.
Penitentiary.
He's picking one off tonight. I'm feeling it.
Yeah?
Oh, I'm feeling that. Yeah.
I got to say, because we haven't seen our buddy for a while. Jimmy Garecki is in the chat saying he'd rather smoke cigs with Fangio. And I just got to ask Jimmy if he'd be wearing his Dodgers gear when he smokes a cigarette with Fangio. We saw his pictures on his Instagram.
Oh, wait, I got clarification.
Yeah.
It was for his wife.
So
I got it was the one.
Boo, Garecki, come on. Penance. He needs to do some penance.
girl.
That's for you,
I
Jimmy.
cut Jimmy G a little slack. I got to cut a little slack.
I love Jimmy.
What he did with the Kelly Green stuff was legit.
That makes up for it, BJ.
You know, I
sick
cut
gear.
him some slack.
You want to hear what some annoying talking heads are saying about the Birds?
I do, because I was going to bring this up to you guys. That I was on a Washington radio station this morning, and they were just chunky today, man. Chunked up.
Is it all about the quarterback? Is that what's got them feeling
Yeah,
good?
and you know, it's amazing. It's like all of a sudden out of the woodwork, they're starting to chirp.
Yeah.
What do you mean the Eagles are going to win by double digits? We watched you yesterday with your buddy Kevin Nagandi from ESPN. That's what I got. That's what I got this morning. And I go,
Haters.
I go, listen. I go, who do you trust more? And this is the truth. You have a team that has been on the ascent for a few years, right? Yeah, a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. A team that was 10-1 last year. A team that has won 5 in a row this year and have added what we have talked about. Who do you trust more? Just be honest. I'm not looking at it like, you know, I'm spitting Eagles. This is if you're going to analyze it from a football standpoint, who do you trust?
Gotta look at the resumes.
Show some respect. Like you
Exactly.
just
The
got
Birds,
here.
man.
Relax. You just got here. It's been 2 decades since you were here.
Exactly.
Chill.
And on top of it, they haven't really played anyone at all this year. What was the biggest test that they had? The Steelers? I mean, come
Fell
on.
that one.
Well, I hate doing that because you can say the same thing about the Eagles, right? Like, you know, I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, they're both basically playing the same schedule for the most part.
Well,
Right.
they are.
There's only a couple games, you know, last place comes into play with 2 games. So this is what Washington has done so far. They lost to Tampa 37-20.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Throw out the first game, right? I don't care. They beat the Giants 21-18. They beat Cincinnati 38-33. Now, that's a common opponent.
Mm-hmm.
What did the Eagles do to Cincinnati?
Dismantled.
They won 2, but they shut down Burrow and Chase.
Yeah.
Right?
Turnovers.
They crush Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, I think, is a
Arizona's-
different team.
Yeah.
But they crushed them 42-14. That's legit. They crushed Cleveland 34-13. The Eagles did not crush the Browns. It was closer. They lost at Baltimore, and it actually was a good loss, 30-23.
Play them hard.
Right? They crushed Carolina 40-7.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Bears 18-15. They beat the Giants again 27-22. And then last week, you just brought up Pittsburgh 28-27.
Yeah, I mean, it's legit. And the Bengals, I just wanted to check. T. Higgins played that game. That's a little difference maker for Burrows to have Higgins with him, so maybe that's why the Bengals put up more points. But very
still,
similar.
I mean, listen, I like T. Higgins a lot, but, I mean, come on. It's not like Jamar Chase was out.
No,
You know what I
get it,
mean?
I get it. But yeah,
Yeah, he's one of a kind. Like,
I mean, the Eagles, I thought I was most impressed. The most impressed I've been is the Eagles did not get riddled by Chase.
Yeah.
Because I thought that could be a problem.
Yeah, like
And
54
that's
yards
where-
that game.
Sam
and-
Quinion.
Right. And I mean, think about it, right? Like, we've seen neighbors, like, look at the receivers that he's shut down.
it's everybody.
You and I were talking last Friday. We were in the car, and you saw that tweet. You went, dude, look at the receivers and look at the yardage.
Oh,
You remember
yeah,
that?
yeah.
You read it to me, and it's like every one of those receivers, like elite players, and he shut them down.
Total shutdown.
1 reception, 2 receptions.
Yes.
That's all, though. No more than 2.
All right.
Yeah, not big yards.
So week 1, Christian Watson. Week 2, Drake London. Week 3, Chris Olave. Week 4, Mike Evans. Week 6, Amari Cooper. Week 7, Malik Neighbors. And Week 8, Jamar Chase. That's all I have right now.
You got the numbers with them?
Yeah, so Christian Watson, 1 reception for 6 yards. Drake London, 1 reception, 5 yards. Chris Olave, 2 receptions, 23 yards. Mike Evans, 2 receptions, 19 yards. Amari Cooper, 1 reception, 10 yards. Malik Neighbors, 1 reception, 9 yards. And Jamar Chase, 2 receptions, 19 yards.
I mean,
San Quentin,
I
cuz.
mean,
good
seriously,
as it
that's
gets.
unbelievable.
It's as good as it
mean,
gets.
That's incredible.
Those aren't just names. Those are players.
Right.
Real players.
Yeah.
And he's able to
I mean,
shut
that
them
tells
down.
you something, man. It does. And again, when Neighbors came back, I was wondering, I was not that I thought the Eagles would win the game, but I was wondering what Neighbors would do and how and if he was back. Remember, he had been hurt and he came back in that game, and he was a non-factor, completely shut down.
I just love his mindset too. He doesn't care who's in front of him. That's been the reason why he's been so successful this year. He was ready for the NFL before.
Well, the two things. I mean, and again, I know we're going to go back on the kids, but I just love them.
They're awesome.
The way you have Mitchell and the way Cooper's playing.
Oh, yeah. Lights out.
And the fact that you got him in the middle of the field, great coverage and great tackling. I mean, I know I'm like a dinosaur, but I love guy tackling. That was one of the problems that we have seen over the last. It's one of the reasons why I never bought Gannon or Gannon's defense.
Okay.
It was they didn't tackle. They couldn't beat good quarterbacks, right? Because of coverage breakdowns.
Right.
And they didn't tackle.
The shoulder tackles. Oh, that drives me up a wall.
On the crunch.
Rapid drive, boys.
I mean,
dude, I'm
wasn't
with you.
that what that? Listen, I know they got to the Super Bowl and they had a record sacks. Come on, man. Like, if you're going to look at it, they struggle tackling. They struggle in the secondary. And that's not the case this year.
Nah, man, you hate Gannon.
Kind of.
How can you not hate him?
I was talking to somebody. Who was I talking to? I was doing some NFL thing, and guy was like, you got to give Gannon a ton of credit when he's in Arizona, what they've done. And listen, they're right. Like, he's done a good job in Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? But I still go back to that defense, and it was a flawed defense.
Yeah. It's much. Cooper DeJean says everything you want. I was a little skeptical of the pick, but man, oh man, was I wrong.
Oh, Mike. Well, speaking of being wrong, I need to get this out of the way. And again, it's early.
TikTok,
Right?
TikToks.
It's
But
early.
I don't even want to say that because the skill level that Jared McCain has shown is ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And I right off the bat, I didn't like the pick. I wanted the Dalton Connect, right? I kept saying it. The reason why, and I didn't doubt McCain. I thought McCain would be good, not this good, this soon. But I thought that you got to get a guy just from a 6'7" right wing who could shoot. I thought he fit better going down with Maxey, right? And that McCain was redundant with Tyrese because they were both undersized two guards. Now, I still need to see them play on the floor together, but the kid just balls, right?
McCain can play, man.
Oh, my. No, I mean, I thought, listen, I watched him later. I go, kid's good. He's got talent.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't expect to be this.
Yeah.
And, they were so undermanned last night, and that kid he just willed it, man. They kept coming at him. They didn't go away. And it was because of McCain. 10 assists.
3-to-1 turnover to assist to turnover ratio. It's big for a rook.
It is. He shoots the ball well.
Great.
Listen, and he's a joy, right?
Yeah.
He plays with amazing joy. He's a sweet kid, man. He's
a little bit like Maxey.
He
Light.
is.
He's Maxey Light.
Yeah, he is.
Hey,
God bless him.
You hate injuries, but it might be a blessing in disguise that Maxey's not here right now just for his early development as a player.
Yes.
Because he's getting these minutes now. He's getting to see these guys, and he's showing out. He's coming out and being.
Listen, I don't
crazy.
put a ton of stock in the NBA regular season, but what I do put stock in, especially this early, what I do put stock in is just the level of play, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When you watched, and I got home last night, and I had basketball tryouts, and I knew that they were in the game, and I looked at the box score, and I saw McCain's game. So I rewatched the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, the level, the skill level was off the charts.
Oh, he's got a composure about him.
He does.
Not afraid to go to the hoop. He's got a ton of confidence.
Nah, he really does. And he's just a pleasure. Highly rootable. I always say this. Listen, my opinions are based out of logic, right? Like I look at basketball logic. Says, all right, I have an undersized 2. I need a wing, or I need somebody next to him that's got some size to him that can also shoot the basketball. That's why I talked about Connect, right? But I'm not looking to. I don't care about. Oh my God, I need to be right. I need to be shove it up everybody's nose.
Right.
I don't care about that. Like, to me, it's about, hey, what's best for the team? What's best for the player? And that kid is an absolute joy.
He's averaging, the last 4 games he's playing. It's not a fluke. He's averaging 25 points over the last 4 games.
And he shot the ball really well.
What do you think?
So I love it.
Is he possible trade stuff if they need something near the deadline? That's looking like this. They could turn that around into a wing player, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's all that stuff. But for now, I just go, man, God bless that kid. And he's truthfully, it's funny. I don't want to trade him, right? Like, I know that you're right.
Yeah.
You're right that you have a chip that you can get some really good stuff because, I give Maury all the credit in the world. Like, to me, Maxey was the pick. It was obvious. It was that Kentucky didn't make the tournament. It was during COVID. You saw him play. He was still there. That was an obvious pick. I give him a lot of credit because I thought it was Connect, and this kid is just he's got his skill level is amazing. He really is.
I kind of think you might have to do a TikTok dance, one of his dances at some point. The people would like to see that, I think.
No.
Yeah. Listen.
Oh,
He keeps doing this. I owe it.
Yeah.
Well, even our own Kyle Neubeck, which, by the way, you want to make sure you become a diehard, ladies and gentlemen. But now he said in his article, now the question becomes, should Jared McCain get a chance to start in the immediate future? And that's honestly because I kind of want to see it. I want to see what it looks like.
You're
within
just
Maxey.
really small, right? If you have, Maxey, McCain, Paul George, you're really small. That's the only downside. All right, we got lots to get to. It's game day. Woo! It's football. It's Eagles and Commanders. Eagles, Washington. I freaking love it. Coming up, we have the editor's desk. I love this segment. Yeah. All right. Well, I love my man, Pat McLoone, who's going to give us all the game day, get you excited headlines. All right. Going into the NFL. So we'll talk to Pat. We got the brain. We got Franny Phillips to go over the game from a technical standpoint and an X&O standpoint. And Jeff McLane from the Inquirer will join us at 10:30. So full show for you. Excited, pumped up on this game day. Boys, talk about Empire.
You got it, cuz. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, listen, it's game day, right? We're all going to be, if you're a weirdo like me, we're all going to be at home watching the game from our comfortable living room, family room, whatever you may be having. You'll be on the comfy couch, and you may look down, and you may notice that, listen, this carpet that I've had here since the 80s, I might need to change it. So you need to keep in mind our friends at Empire Today, and they're giving you that easy, convenient in-home shopping experience. And whether you want to change it to something maybe like a wood-looking floor, a stone-looking floor, or if you live in the Northeast, you want that comfortability. I like the carpet in the winter. It's nice. You can be barefoot. It's very convenient. And Empire Today has everything you need as far as your flooring goes. And I love it because, listen, they are here for your best interests. They obviously have competitors that are going to offer you a low price, but that means low quality, and Empire Today is not going to do it. They're only going to put flooring in your house that they would only put in their house, and that's the Empire difference, and that's why we're recommending it here today. So what are you waiting for? Do not stare at that carpet any longer. Schedule your free estimate here today. All of our listeners can receive up to a $350 off discount. That's a solid discount, ladies and gentlemen. All you got to do is use a promo code PHLY. Just keep in mind that restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY. That's empiretoday.com/PHLY for more details. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, when you're changing your flooring, there's only one company, and that's Empire
Today. All right. Our friends over at Rite Aid, they've got everything you want. And they've got vaccines if you're into vaccines. Protect yourself and your family by staying up to date on your immunizations. Rite Aid pharmacists, they're specially trained, certified immunizers, and most vaccines are no cost with insurance and government plans like Medicare Part D. Rite Aid's got vaccines for pneumonia, tetanus, whooping cough, chickenpox. It's RSV season, the contagious seasonal upper respiratory tract infection, COVID-19's going around and swirling out there, and shingles, painful rash caused by the same virus that causes chickenpox, so we're all at risk of that. Vaccine centers at Rite Aid's, They got dedicated pharmacists ready to administer vaccines and answer all your questions. If you don't know what immunizations you need, if you're not sure if you're up to date, if you're feeling nervous, just ask a Rite Aid pharmacist. They take the time to make personal recommendations based on your health history, and they'll discuss any concerns you have. No questions are too small. Just walk in or schedule an appointment Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Age, state, and health restrictions may apply. Ask a Rite Aid pharmacist for more details.
All right, buddy. Like it. All right, let's get right to it. This portion of the program brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook online casino app. Let's get you set for game day. From the editor's desk, Pat McLoone.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
This just in, ladies and gentlemen, and all the ships at sea. It's time for headlines from the editor's desk with Pat McLoone.
There he is.
Here we go. I got to do it again, boys. This new thing, getting used to it. Sorry about that.
We like seeing
my kids will get a big kick out of that, me not knowing that.
Give me a little more. Give me
how's
a little
everybody
more.
doing?
More Pat, more Pat.
More Pat. Less Wall, more Pat.
There we go.
There's the man.
There we go.
There he is.
All right. Thanks.
You're the best.
Guys,
I love you.
It's game day. And, what's better than being able to get I appreciate this. If you look at little VG's icon, I put my fountain pen down, and I'm ready to go here.
That's awesome.
And the one thing I wanted to say to kick it off is that I felt like we had plenty to talk about this game, and I had it all ready. And then yesterday, my oldest son, Pat, hits me with a text that said, "Can I give you an unpopular opinion?" I said, "Sure." And he said, "I'm thinking Michael Vick might be my favorite Eagles quarterback."
Wow.
And the reason is he's going through all these highlight reels and the stuff like you were talking about, the video game. And our first category is first impressions. And how is this for a first impression in 2010 against the Redskins? Here we go. Thank you, Andrew.
Look at this.
There's Vic, as you talked about, John, rolling and launching downfield for the accelerates, caught the opening play, and all the way for a touchdown. 88 yards.
Man.
I remember
First
that.
play of the
First
game.
play. He
First
did have
play.
a catch.
And, you got to
He
admit,
flicks his wrist.
you got to admit that Vic could sling it. He just could sling it. And there's something in every sport about a left-hander, get that nice left-handed stroke in basketball or the left-handed slap shot, or it's nice. It
really
set me
is.
up for an idea. And then I went down the hole in first impressions, Anthony. And first impressions can be deceiving. And my headline on this is, "Can our eyes deceive us?" And my question to you is, our first impression of Jaden Daniels is pretty good. Is he the real deal?
Listen,
I tend to think he is.
I believe it. I think Jaden Daniels is legit all day long, because the one thing that he passes to me is those mobile quarterbacks, great until defenses react to you, and then you have to beat them. You have to beat teams with your arm. His eyes are always up. They're down the field. He's always looking down the field to make a play. If it's not there, he'll run. But, man, he's dangerous. He extends plays for his arm. He's all day. And remember, Pat, he did it at LSU. And that was big. He played in monster games at LSU. Great competition in the SEC. He's legit.
It sure looks that way. But like I said, the first category is first impressions. And we've been burned by first impressions before. How confident were we when the Rams made the stupid mistake of drafting Jared Goff and we got Carson Wentz? Boy, did that we thought, what are they doing? And we got the guy. And for a while, it really looked like it. It really looked like it, and then boom. And then the other thing is, and you talk about the video game, first impressions, Chip Kelly.
Oh, wow.
Holy
Look at
Chip.
that. Oh, it's fantastic.
It was a video game.
These are great covers.
Watching
Holy
that
shit.
first half on the Monday night, and we were all losing our minds. And at the time, the Redskins, they got a fumble recovery to go up 7-0. The Eagles scored 34 points in a row, almost all of them in the first half. They held on to win the game, but it was such an impression, and it was unbelievable. And then, boom, it kind of went away.
Chip with a soft handshake there, too. He's only grabbing his fingers.
Yo,
It's a
you
bad
observe
handshake.
everything.
That's not good. That's
a
not
bad
good.
handshake
He
by
needed
Chip.
to get
He was
lessons
a
from
fish
Zach
guy,
Berman on how to give a proper handshake.
Yeah, he was a fish guy.
Fish hands.
Pat, you're spot on. That game, to this day, I'm still mesmerized because I did the same thing that you did, which is go back and watch that. Because I remember watching it, like my jaw hitting the table, and it was amazing. I mean, the open space, like especially with Vic and Deshaun Jackson and Shady McCoy. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. To this day in the NFL, I've never seen anything like that.
So true. And by the way, the one where Vic threw the bomb, that was in 2010 with Andy. The Eagles put up 59 on Washington that game.
Oof.
Now, finishing off with the first impression. This goes way back, and I doubt JP will know this, and this is one that when it happened, I thought, wait a minute, whoa, let's see how this plays out. The Eagles had a quarterback named Bobby Hoying. And everybody went nuts, just nuts.
Oh, my God.
And he had a big comeback, and he beat the Bengals 44-42, 4 touchdowns, and everybody went crazy. And the editor at the Daily News at the time was Zach Stolberg, a really good guy who really knew how to sell newspapers and really, really knew what he was doing. And he was right in my world the next day saying, we need more on Hoying. We need more on Hoying. And I'm trying to say, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. No. We need more on Hoying. If you look closely at that one back page, it was our Tuesday story. Ray Rhodes starts comparing him to Montana and Steve Young and Favre.
Wow.
It just got way out of hand. Way out of hand. Bobby Hoying, come on. He was quite the flash in the pan. And it, brings up my point on the headline. Can our eyes deceive us? First impressions before have often gone the wrong way.
Montana, Young, Favre weren't as good as Hoying at this stage. Ray Rhodes says, stick to defense, Ray.
Can't say we were always right at the Daily News, but we tried.
Hoy to the world. That's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. Was Wentz, you brought up Wentz, you're spot on. Didn't Wentz make a play against Washington?
Yeah.
Where it looked like he was about to be sacked. He wriggles free, and then he fires down the field for a touchdown?
Oh, absolutely. He wriggled free like 3 or 4 times. And that's how he operated. We've seen him do. That was the first time we did it. We saw him do it again. And man, I was sure of that guy. But nope. So you never know with Jaden Daniels. My guess is he's going to be a thorn in the Eagles' side for 10 years.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know. We've seen it in the past.
No, I buy him. I do. I buy him.
There you go. So thanks for letting me kick it off with that.
Again. Went 7 out of 10 against the blitz. They're lined up as if they're coming after him, and they do. And he's in trouble. Wentz will be escaping from the 18-yard line. How in the world did that happen? First down out to the 44-yard line.
Man, I remember watching that play going, this kid's the truth. It's cold. He is the truth. What was that called? The Revenant. I was calling him. Remember that movie, Pat? with DiCaprio fights the bear.
He wears the bear, right?
Yeah. It called The Revenant, and it was like he was on the plains, and I'm like, this is Carson.
Yes, he emerged from among the bears.
Yes.
I think it'll play like that in week one.
Moving on, I have 4 others, Anthony, for you to choose from. I have Dallas, Game Day, NFL East, and NFL in general.
All right, let's go. We're going to do Game Day last to get excited. All right. So let's go NFL in general.
Okay, NFL in general, and we could do it quickly. My headline for NFL in general is "Hail to the Chiefs." It's too bad that the Washington franchise changed its name to the Commanders, because I would have done "Hail to the Chiefs, fail to the Redskins" for my my next one, but we can't do that. Anyway, I just think it needs to be noted about what Andy and your friend Spagnuolo. I saw there was a big national piece about Spagnuolo this week too. That it's pretty impressive. I mean, they've won 2 in a row. They're not, you could say they lucked out last week, but they made it happen with the special teams. They've won 15 games in a row. I admire that they've still got that fire after winning two in a row and coming out like that. You think about other teams coming off the Super Bowl, Anthony. The Eagles were 4-5 after 9 games.
Yeah.
This team's 9-0.
Yeah.
The Rams with McVay, they were 3-6 after 9 games. It's so tough to keep a team at that type of a mental and emotional and physical peak. And, they could win 3 in a row. My guess is they won't, but, it needs to be acknowledged that it's really something.
It is. And look, I mean, getting Hopkins is a big deal, because what Hopkins does, it allows Worthy to be the big play guy. It really helps Andy's game planning. The thing about Andy that's amazing to me, and I kind of realize that this is what he is. So remember, when he gets fired, he immediately goes to Kansas City. So he's been doing this straight since 1999 as a head coach. He views every game, they're all worth the same. Playoffs, Super Bowl, no matter what it is, he just enjoys preparing for every week. And they're all the same. He doesn't look big picture. He just looks to this week. It's pretty astounding.
And the thing about it is, Mahomes hasn't been at his very best this year.
No.
And when he gets going again, it's something. So I just thought when I was watching, when they blocked that field goal last week, I thought, whoop, there goes a category for Anthony next week. Something needs to be
and you know what, Pat?
About the Chiefs.
If they don't lose both their tackles in the Super Bowl they lost, they win that too. They lost both. They played that game without both starting tackles.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. They were right there too. Yep.
Yeah. The thing that's so Andy too is someone did a look back at that blocked field goal, and they saw the guy on the left side was getting crushed all season. And there's a montage of the guy just getting barreled over like 7 other field goals. So they just attacked, they exploited that weakness. And Andy runs a tight ship, man.
He loves that stuff. He sees weakness.
Yeah.
That was the pickle juice game, the onside kick where he saw that gunner for Dallas leaving early.
Yeah.
And I saw a great stat on social media, a guy named Greg Harvey, about that they've won 15 straight games, including playoffs, which is remarkable. No team scored more than 25 points in that entire streak. And it's the longest such streak in the NFL like that since that Dolphins team that ran the rack did it 18 in a row. So that's early 70s. You're looking well over 50 years since the team's been able to do what they've been able to do in the last 2.5 seasons.
In an era that is an offensive explosion.
Absolutely. Much different era than what the Dolphins did with them. You're looking at Billy Kilmer and the single bar helmet kind of days back then.
You're spot on. Send that to me, would you? I'd like to see it.
I will. So if we go game day last, we have Dallas or NFL East?
NFL East.
Okay. It's amazing. We talked about it early on in a different thing, but it's almost a lock now, Anthony. The streak will live in the NFL East. There will not be a repeat champion again. It's going to put it in well over 20 years because God knows last year's champion, our Dallas Cowboys, they are not going to win it this year. I feel confident saying that. And one of the two teams that are playing tonight will be the team that wins it.
That's right. Isn't that wild? That is something you can't even look. I know the league's got parity and all that stuff, but this is unreal. Like you can't expect anything like that.
Yeah. And it got me digging into some stuff about the Eagles and the NFL East and going back. And some things jumped out at me is that the Eagles since 2010, they're a little under 500 against Dallas. They're crushing the Giants. In fact, the Giants haven't won in Philly in over a decade.
Wow.
The Eagles have beaten the Giants at least 10 times in a row. But Washington, it's pretty steady. And since 2010, the Eagles are 16-12 against Washington. They always seem, even when they're bad, to be a problem. And when you go way back, there was a point from 81 to 90 when the Eagles were pretty good. That's coming off the Super Bowl and stuff. And then they started the nosedive after Vermeil. But from 81 to 90, the Eagles were 5-16 against Washington.
Wow. That's
5-16. That's when, the Joe Gibbs teams. So
Hogs, yeah.
It's not Dallas. It's not the Giants. It's the one team that's not considered a bitter rival. But there have been some really, really big battles.
Do you remember
over the years?
Do you remember the Eagles, like the Randall playoff game against Washington? I think it was in a rain, like a little bit of a rain.
Yes. They didn't score a touchdown, the Eagles. My remembrance is it was 20-6 they lost.
And weren't they? I mean, that was supposed to be a close game. Like I thought the Eagles had a chance to win.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. That's the tough. Me, you, and VG will never get over those Eagles playoff losses with Buddy. Starting with that Fog Bowl.
Wasn't that they defended Randall with like a Tampa 2, and it was like they were forcing him. Like they weren't rushing him. Like they were forcing him to stay in the pocket and throw.
Well, I'm no dummy. I never challenge your memory. So yes, that's what it was.
Oh my!
He's like Rain Man.
Yes, he is. VG. Yes, he is. We've kind of, we could do a whole segment trying to stump the cuss. Let me tell you.
We could.
When it comes to the Eagles, other stuff in life,
Do you
not so much.
Do you remember that 2nd and 7 play in 1997 against the Bears?
Yes,
I do.
Yeah.
All right. How about the Cowboys?
All right. I'm proud to put up the headline here, boys. And our headline is Memories of an Ass Kicking.
Oh, great picture.
That was beautiful. It was beautiful. And as a guy who enjoys the written word and the precise choice of words, Anthony, E.J. Smith, who as a young guy worked with me at the Inquirer, another great Temple product, now with your later guest, Jeff McLane, part of the coverage team of the Inquirer, great guy. EJ used the word about the first half saying that was an arrhythmic first half. And I thought, wow. And I don't text guys I used to always text guys during the game only if it was something that I felt they couldn't see from the box. I don't like messing with guys, and you know how plugged in you are covering a game. But I did text EJ right on the spot. I said that was a very cool and precise choice of words. That first half was maddening, but that second half, oh, that was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful.
Arrhythmic. So on point. So perfect. It was exactly that. It's true. Because you're looking at that team going, wait a second. Cooper Rush is horrible. They can't move the ball.
You know how I amused myself? One of the ways I amused myself during the game was following Joe Banner on Twitter. Joe Banner was merciless on McCarthy, killing him about throwing those 2-yard passes. It was unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, with Vic's game plans, Fangio, it's the second time this season that they've held a team to at least 17 completed passes that netted less than 50 yards.
Wow.
They had 17 completions, net 49 yards, and the Giants had 18 completions with the worst draft pick of all time for 43 yards.
Wow. That's amazing. That really is something. Yeah, Pat, we were talking about, I guess we'll get into it with game day a little bit, but we were talking about the difference between the defense with Gannon in 22, and they had all those sacks. But to me, this defense is infinitely better because of how stout the back seven is.
Yes, it's so different. It really is. And, you could see them plugging in Sidney Brown next year.
Yeah.
Where with CJGJ, I don't know, maybe they have him for 2 years. That'd be fine with me.
Yeah.
But that's it. And I think the thing with Nakobe Dean and Bourne is you get the sense that linebacker play is the kind of thing that gets better over time. And just in a short time, the two of them are kind of on the same page. Nakobe's got the helmet that relays the stuff, and I think Bourne's going to make the Pro Bowl the way he's going. That's a great point, Anthony. It's a defense that's driven differently, and it's been fun to watch it ascend.
Totally. It's been great. It really has. All right, let's go to game day.
Game day, here it is. And let me know, everybody does it differently. It's not officially a game day with me unless my sister Mary and I have to acknowledge either verbally or in a text that it's game day. And we've already done that. She's a crazed Eagles fan. She sent me a photo of her trying on a Brandon Grant helmet at Veterans Hospital where she's a doctor. And I guess the Eagles gave the veterans some swag. But it's not a game day until the two of us have acknowledged it, and we've done that.
I love that. Do you have a picture of her? Did you send that to Andrew?
I did not. I should have sent the picture of her.
Yeah, I need to see Mary.
The helmet, yeah.
First of all, Mary is the greatest name, right? I have my Aunt Cookie was Mary, and she had the beautiful soul. And I could just imagine you and your sister Mary. God bless her. I do the same thing with my cousin Joey. Game day, like it's game day. It's the best. I love that, Pat. Love it.
But let's get into it. It's game day, and some of the matchup stuff's interesting. Zach Berman of PHLY, All Philly, he had a great one to start off the week. That the last time both of these teams this late in the season have been over 500 was in November of 2000. So that's Zach doing a nice bit of research there. It really grabs you. And let's not take for granted that the Eagles are 7-2. Lately, they've been really good, but people that have been fans as long as you and I have been, or have covered them as long as we have, it's not very often. In fact, in 24 seasons between 1981 and 2004, in 24 seasons, after 9 games, the Eagles were 7-2 once.
Wow, are you serious?
Yes, once.
Could I guess?
And it's not to be taken for granted. Then, the second one would have been 2004, which was the Super Bowl year. But and some good Eagles teams that made the playoffs, but a lot of those teams started off 4-5 and 5-4. 7-2 is a great start, and in Washington, 7-3 boy, I couldn't go back. Maybe Brad or somebody knows that it's forever since Washington has been able to do it.
That's unbelievable. 7-2 one time. What year was it? Was it 02?
I had it at the time, and when I rewrote my notes, I forget what it was. It was somewhere in there. Somewhere in there. Only once between 81 and 81. They're coming right off the the Super Bowl.
Right.
81 and 2004. 24 seasons, only once. So savor a little bit that the Eagles are 7-2, and let's hope they're 8-2. But it's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at the end of the game. We're going to really sweat this one out. We just talked about the stats with the holding guys under 50 yards, and that they have the potential to do that in one play. We'll all acknowledge that Terry McLaurin is an official Eagles killer.
Yep.
I mean, JP talked about that a little bit. McLaurin has averaged, since he's been with the team, 6.7 catches for 88 yards per game against the Eagles. And here's the key, though, Anthony. He's hurt the Eagles badly in games. And listen to this litany of quarterbacks he did it with. Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, Dwayne Haskins. And the one game in there he didn't have one, it was a quarterback I never heard of. I never heard of this guy. Garrett Gilbert?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Texas.
Garrett Gilbert. Yeah. He was a Texas guy. Longhorns. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Really? I never heard of that guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, my point is, McLaurin is such an Eagles killer, and he's done it with
trash
quarterback.
Yeah. He's had nobody.
And now he's got a guy. And I remember in the first game, I think that they won and everybody was happy, but McLaurin didn't get many touches. And, but boy, is that rapport coming together.
I think one thing tonight that's an overlooked story is Austin Siebert is not playing. They got a kicker coming off the practice squad and coming into Lincoln Financial.
That's big, VJ.
It's tough, man. It could be a close game. It could be a little tight when he kicks.
That could definitely be a factor. And it looks to me like McLaurin lines up to the left of the quarterback a lot. And if he does that, he's getting Quinyon Mitchell. And if you guys do that show tomorrow, and I'll be up for it and listening, if they win and Mitchell continues that streak of what he's done to receivers, what a joy that'll be listening to that.
Right?
San Quinion.
Oh, man. San Quinion Penitentiary.
Pat, you have any suggestions on these nicknames? You're pretty good with these stuff for a Q nickname.
We'll have to get into that. We'll have to get into that a little bit. I didn't know that was on the table. I do, however, have a request for the three of you.
Okay.
We had so much going on this. Something happened the other night in a game, and I'll tell you next week. It went right up my back. It is one of my two pet peeves in sports. So much so that if I was the king of the world, that I would put in legislation against it. So I want you guys, I'm telling you right now, one of our categories next week is going to be pet peeve. And I would love to know if there are things about sports that when you see it, that it just drives you crazy. Just
I love it.
Lining up of it.
You also gave me an idea.
Next week, I thought we had plenty with the Commanders, and the first impressions put me over the top. But I did want to put you three stalwarts so that you could think about that a little bit for next week too.
I absolutely love it. Hey, you also gave me an idea for a segment in honor, since we do a lot of old daily news stuff, Pat. A king of the world for
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, yes.
I could see you as king of the world. I would vote for you for king of the world.
And you know what? I'm going to have to come up with something else, because the original king of the world, he was toppled in a horrible way, in a deserved way. And so, as they say, I might want to distance myself from the king of the world.
I feel you, buddy. I feel
you.
you.
Yes.
I feel you. You're the greatest. I love you. We love you. You're the best. And we enjoy the game. Give Mary our love. Go Birds.
Very good, guys. Should be fun one tonight.
There he is.
Thanks.
See you, Pat.
The best, Pat McLoone. I love him. Oh, my God.
Awesome.
He's the greatest. There's so much to unpack from all that. Man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we got to do a couple things, and then we'll come back. We'll take a look at the game from a film perspective.
Okay.
Our man, Franny Films. We'll talk to Franny Films about what's happening. But first, let's talk about Golden Nugget Jewelers. That's right. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Tell you about it all the time, man. We're heading into engagement season. We're in November. And all the holidays. Holidays are around the corner, and you're going to need a jeweler. Look, if you're already married, you're already engaged, I got to get you to my man, your own, at Golden Nugget Jewelers in the heart of Jewelers Row, Center City. You're going to need it. Anniversaries, holidays coming up. You're going to need jewelry, all right? And if you met that special somebody, go see your own, all right? He'll give you the whole dissertation on the diamond. He'll walk you through the process, work within your budget. He's fantastic. I've sent dozens and dozens and dozens of guys over there to live happily ever after. Check out Golden Nugget Jewelers right in the heart of Jewelers Row, 8th and Chestnut. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. All right, also, we are brought to you by the Parx Sportsbook online casino app. What's the line? Is it still 3.5 on the Parx app? VG's always got the Parx app up. He's got it all ready to go.
3.5.
3.5. What's the total?
49.
3.5, 49.
Oh, my God.
A little juice on, small amount of juice on the under.
Yeah, I listen, I would say buy the half just to be safe, but I like the Eagles by margin. If I said the Eagles minus 9.5, what does that pay?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Take a look at that.
Figure it
'Cause you
out.
can do that on the BetParx Sportsbook online casino app. You can mess with the spread, do all that stuff. Same game parlays. Love Barkley over. I know it's a lot, but I do think Barkley gets 100 yards tonight. So I know his total is 91.5. I'll take over when it comes to
They're
Saquon.
plus 190 at minus 9.5.
Plus 190. All right. You can have some fun with that as a pizza bet. Check it all out, the BetParx Sportsbook online casino app. And while you're watching the game, always a way to win live blackjack dealers, right? You got all the roulette and craps and all the hot online slots like Peaky Blinders and Breaking Bad. You can have a lot of fun while you're in between while you're watching the game with the casino.
Commercial break.
Yeah.
Open up a little back rack.
I know, that's my man. That's what he does. BetParx.com for all the details. You got to be in PA, New Jersey, Ohio, Maryland, Michigan. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
They got a Rocky slot. I didn't know this.
Are you serious?
Yo, I am so
Rocky
in.
slot.
What
What do you get for Mickeys? Do I get 3 Mickeys or 3 Buckuses? Hey, Buckus. Kind of like that. This portion of the program is brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out the credit union difference, TrueMark.com/PHLY. Do it today. Now, joining us, fresh from the film study, game planning for the game. That's what he does. The keys. You got to check out what his game plans are.
Oh, my God, yeah.
They're tremendous. I mean, absolutely. I freaking love it. Not a lot of things I love. I love that.
It's like those shows where they track a murderer and have all the pins and stuff. That's what his notes look like.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, it's
He's
wild.
got on. Fran Duffy joins us. Our boy, Franny Films. What do you say, Fran?
Ant, Greg, JP, what's going on, fellas?
Whoa, he's wearing a little burgundy, a little Commander Burgundy today. I don't know.
I was always thinking that.
Franny. Whoa.
I got a little Outer Banks, action with the hat. Now look, it's freezing out there, fellas. I gotta throw a hoodie on it at this point, even in the film room.
Yeah, it is cold. It's good football weather. We love what you do. Your game plan breakdown it's just spectacular.
I appreciate it. No, it's a ton of work. Obviously, going it goes back to the week. I just started my one for the Rams next week this morning. I've been watching the Rams all morning, so it's about a week's worth of work and a ton of info crammed into this one about Washington. Obviously, a lot to get into on both sides of the ball with this matchup. We covered a lot yesterday on the PHLY Eagle Show, and I still feel like there's meat on the bone. There's just so much to cover with this team and with this game tonight.
All right, VG, Andrew, do me a favor. Just get a snapshot of it, all right? So we can just show the audience as to why they need to be a diehard and check this out. This stuff's unbelievable, okay? Let's start, Fran. Let's go Eagles offense versus the Washington defense. And the fact that, it should be a Saquon game.
No question. I think when you look at this, there's an opportunity here for you to kind of bully this Washington defensive front. They've struggled against the run for the majority of this year. They like to play light bodies. Dan Quinn has always liked to be a sub-package defense. Not as much dime with 6 DBs as he did in Dallas, but I think when you look at this group, I think you can try and work that again, especially those guys inside. They're missing Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne. I love Deron Payne as a talent, but when you can get 2 sets of hands on him and get movement at the point of attack, that's probably one of the weak points of his game. The defensive ends are all on the smaller side. So I think when you look at this matchup from a run game standpoint, the Eagles, we talked about this on Monday. The game against Dallas, it was all perimeter focused with the run game. It was a lot of trying to get Saquon outside. I think in this game, you can really see them work vertically, downhill, inside zone, duo, really try and work the in between the hash marks with this run game. I think that'll be fruitful for this offense.
Look at this. Look at this. We're showing the audience. This is the work that Fran puts in. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is the color codes. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous. It dives into all that stuff. You got to check it out. I mean,
there's no coverage like that anywhere.
And it's all his work.
Yeah.
It's what Fran does. Like I joke about Franny Films. What he does and the amount of work that he puts in is so impressive. Yep. So I love it, Fran. I can't stress it enough. All right, so let's now. When it's 3rd and 7, what are you looking at?
Well, I think this has been one of the higher volume blitz teams in football, especially over the last month. It actually, interestingly enough, kind of coincides with the Eagles' defensive turnaround. We've seen this Washington team get better at that same rate. Right around week 5, week 6, when the Eagles were on that bye, you saw this defense really start to up their blitz rate. They were a bottom 5 pressure team in the first few weeks of the year. They've been a top 5 or 6 pressure team since that point. And so you're seeing all that speed. I talked about the undersized bodies up front for the run game. Well, that plays in their favor for the pass game. And so they're creating pressure. They're blitzing both linebackers. They're the only team in the NFL right now where both off-ball linebackers have 10 pressures. So you're talking Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. They blitz those guys from depth. They'll bring them down on the line of scrimmage. And so a lot of the things we saw the Eagles have some problems with last week against Dallas, it wouldn't shock me if Dan Quinn tried to replicate some of that in this game. And so that would be something certainly to watch. I think the Eagles blitz plan for most of this season has been pretty good, but you're going to need to have that all buttoned up here for this game on a short week.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's the only thing. Listen, the one thing they can do is they can rush. Now, when you look at what Jalen has done, first half was again not good against Dallas and holding on to the ball. I mean, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, he got sacked 5 times in the first half. The second one, that was all Gainwell. And a couple of those, I think you're looking at it and you're saying, all right, the ball probably could have come out here. There was another one where I'm like, I don't know where he's supposed to go with this one. I'm not sure where, in terms of like the route concepts. There was another one where there was just nobody open, right? So you're kind of like looking at 2 I'd put squarely on Hurts. A couple others, I'd say, all right, the scheme kind of failed him or the receivers weren't open. But I think ultimately, yeah, that has been an issue for most of this year. I mean, he's been one of the most pressured quarterbacks in football, but it's not the offensive line like giving up quick pressures. It's more like the ball is in his hands and pressure is getting to him late in the down. And so I think that's.
Yeah, I saw one real quick just to buttress your point. I saw one where, listen, they want to go down the field. And so it takes a while for you got to get down. You got to get time to get down the field. But there was no other read that was close to him where he could have went with the ball. Now, I did see a couple where, like you talked about, he held on to the ball, and I thought it was on him. But I remember the one, to me, clearly was not on him, and it was more on the design. Like, you got to give him something that's not just down the field that he can go to as a safety valve.
Yeah, and there are some times where that's warranted. You know, the 3rd and 17 sack, that's one where he had 3 receivers all working vertically down the football field against cover 2. So you think cover 2, that's 2 deep safeties. You have 3 vertical routes. Those 2 safeties can't cover all 3. And honestly, 2 of the 3 were working open. So he had options there with all 3 receivers. And on that one, I thought Hurts's poise in the pocket was bad, where he kind of squared up to the line of scrimmage too early. And he's not in a position to step up and deliver that football. But then there's some later, to your point, I think that the sack fumble for Parsons, which was bad ball security from Hurts, on that one, there was just he didn't really have that option, right? There wasn't really anybody there. He had like an over route from Goddard that was covered, and everything else, the coverage was a little too sticky. And so you get a little bit of everything, but he bounced back really, really well in the second half. You just don't want to have to do that against an offense here in Washington that is going to put up points. You're not going to get the amount of stops that you got against Dallas a week ago going up against this offense and Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, the one issue is that when you do have a spot where there's no safety valve for you in that sense, he does have to learn to throw the ball away. Like, that's the one thing. Like, if there's nothing there and you just throw it away. Like, that's the one thing that is frustrating to me, that you read it, all right, if it's not there, just get rid of it, airmail it.
Yeah, and that's it's like these areas that we're talking about with him that'll take him from being like that really good quarterback to a great quarterback, right? And that's what kind of leaves him from that outside looking in. He's been so accurate throughout the season. Obviously, his ability to create those plays outside of structure has been one of the strengths of his game. But continuing to manage those muddy pockets and handle pressure from that standpoint, that's an area where he can improve. And then, as you mentioned, just that decision-making process, he's done a good job of not turning the ball over for the most part, especially over these last couple months. I honestly was okay with the interception he threw in the red zone last week, going back and watching that on film. But I think overall, that's the area where you want to see him just get a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. I'm completely with you. All right, now let's look. Washington offense and Jaden Daniels, the 2 running backs. So Robinson plays. So you have Robinson, Eckler, which has been really effective for them. And they're very similar, where they like to run the ball and then they'll hit you over the top to McLaren.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, it's an offense that's going to put stress on you in every way imaginable. And you start with the run game, and look, Brian Robinson and Eckler, 2 different kinds of backs, but they love to run it between the tackles with Robinson. Eckler doesn't have the juice that he had a few years ago, but he could still be a versatile weapon for them out of the backfield. He's one of like 6 or 7 players in the NFL that has at least 250 yards on the ground and through the air. So he can beat you in a lot of different ways. And then you have Jaden Daniels, what he can do within the design of the offense, a lot of the QB runs, design QB reads, a lot of the stuff we see with Jalen Hurts with QB counter, where he could give it to the back or he go out the front door. They do that with Daniels. He is electric as an athlete, can get to the corner, can run away from everybody. And then you have him as a scrambler. He's been the best scrambler in football this year. I don't think it's out of bounds to say he's the most athletic quarterback in the NFL right now. So you have to contain him. All right, that is the number one thing at the top of the game plan this week. It's something Pittsburgh did so well this past Sunday, was contain him, and they did it a lot with a 5-man rush, where they basically use 5 bodies to just kind of constrict the pocket and keep him in there. Because when he breaks the pocket, he's typically not looking to throw. He's actually been scrambling to run at the highest rate, like in the last 10 years. It's insane when you look at those numbers. But when you look at their ability to kind of keep him in the pocket and create pressure, that's where you can kind of roll the dice and can create some negative plays against this offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. He is. Man. He's the truth. How I look at a young quarterback is, where's your eyes? And his eyes are always up, man. They're always up, and he's always looking to throw first.
Very decisive. And honestly, when you watch him, he knows where the answers are in this offense. This is not the same offense from a structure standpoint that we saw from Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, where everything, honestly, even at Texas Tech, where everything was quick, yards after catch, shallow crosses. The wide receiver screens are still there. They're one of the biggest screen teams in football. The Eagles are going to see a lot of screens tonight, but everything else, it's vertical. It actually reminds me a lot because Brian Johnson is the pass game coordinator, and he was the OC at Florida before he came to the Eagles, and that's what got Kyle Pitts drafted in the top 5.
Yeah,
vertical, everything, deep post, deep
reminds
wheels,
me of LSU of when Daniels at LSU.
Yeah, you're leaning into what he does well. He's a really good vertical thrower. He had a beautiful touch throw to Terry McLaurin outside the numbers last week against Pittsburgh. And McLaurin has been, since week 3, every game he's had at least 90 yards and a touchdown. I mean, they want to funnel him the football, and that's going to be a really fun matchup for him and Quinyon Mitchell. This is not like Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb where they move those guys around. And so sometimes you might see this guy on Cooper DeJean or on Darius Slay. Terry McLaurin lines up out wide to the left more than any receiver in football. That's the way that Cliff wants to operate, is that he wants to keep his guys in isolated spots. So it is going to be Terry McLaurin on the far left and Quinyon Mitchell. That's where he lines up 98% of the time. And so all night long, it's going to be McLaurin versus Mitchell. This is a great test for the rookie corner.
Yeah, and let's talk about it, because that's been the theme really for the last couple of weeks, and why that defense has been so buttoned up. It's because of Mitchell and DeJean. And, the thing I love about, let's go Cooper, because we talked a lot about Quinyon, is like DeJean is always around the ball. He's it's the middle of the field, because you're playing slot corner. You're in the middle of the field, and he's such a sure tackler. Like what the difference to me in this Eagles defense and in 2022, and even 2022 when they set all the sack record and they were after the quarterback, I still thought when they played good quarterbacks that they were vulnerable. And I look at this team and I go, I love the way the back seven's playing. The back seven is locked down, and their tackling is so much better.
I'm fascinated to see what the game plan will be from Vic Fangio tonight. My guess is, based off of what he did against Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, and obviously, look, Joe Burrow's been in the league for a while, so he's further ahead mentally than Jaden Daniels is. But we've talked about how sound that offensive scheme is, from a pass game standpoint. Look, my guess is that Fangio's going to throw a bunch of different looks at Jaden Daniels and try and keep him guessing. I think that Pittsburgh did a really good job of disguising their looks. Hey, we're going to show too high at the snap, and then we're going to rotate out, or we're going to show one thing and then give you something different. They did a lot more blitzing and a lot more man coverage than I would have thought against Jaden Daniels, because you think typically against a mobile quarterback like Jaden, you wouldn't want to play man coverage. You want eyes on the quarterback. You don't want guys turning around and following their receivers in coverage just in case he takes off. But Pittsburgh felt comfortable playing, we're going to play man-to-man. We're going to let our linebacker, Patrick Queen, he's going to be the spy, essentially the QB spy on Jaden Daniels. Do the Eagles do that with Zach Bond? Do they play more man coverage or play more zone coverage behind that just in case? Or one thing we talked about on the show yesterday, do they play more? Is this where we see Sidney Brown become a part of the defensive package, and they lean more into dime on third down with 6 DBs, and Sidney Brown kind of becomes that quasi linebacker to spy Jaden Daniels? That could be something that we have not seen from Vic Fangio that could be on the table for a game like tonight.
Hey, Franny, in a game where they seem pretty evenly matched, I'm checking out special teams for edges and stuff. Austin Eckler's having a really good year with kickoff returns. He busted one for 62. He's averaging like 31 yards. Are they doing anything different than the rest of the league's doing to be effective with their kick returns?
Nothing that I've seen that's to my untrained eye with the other kickoff returns. But I mean, he's just a good space player, and so that was when they made that change for the kick return rule this year. He was the kind of player, especially at this stage in his career. If this was 3 years ago, they probably wouldn't have him back there because he was such a focal point of that Chargers offense. But a player like that now, yeah, you could put him back there and say, hey, go to work, because you're only going to get 10 to 12 touches on offense, and so you can kind of really get your you can get your yards on special teams, and so that doesn't shock me that he has been that effective in that phase of the game.
Hey, let me ask you, because what I saw. The one thing that it's a shame because nature of the position, but Jalen Carter's playing really well. And it's just, you don't have anybody off the edge that can really exploit how well Jalen Carter's playing.
He has like 7 or 8 plays a game where you're like, oh my God. Where he just has that dominant level of play. Now, what I would say, like my expectations of him coming into the year were sky high. Right. And I don't think that he has been like that dominant, like that player that we saw against New Orleans and that win down there. That I expected that like consistent throughout the course of the season. We haven't gotten that, which is perfectly fine. Like he has continued to excel. He's playing more snaps. I think when you look at like the metrics, he's like 17th or 18th in double team rate, so like the highest on this team, but not like an exorbitant number when you compare him to some of the other defensive tackles in football. Chris Jones, those guys, Dexter Lawrence are getting doubled at a higher rate. But I think when you look at Carter, he's got those 7 or 8 plays a game where he just turns it on and he just obliterates the guy across from him. And so right now, with the way that this defense is kind of orchestrated, I think that that's fine because they're leaning more on the coverage as opposed to the rush. If this was a defense where, they were playing more man-to-man and it was going to be a little bit more, you're leaning on that defensive front, I think we'd be a little bit more disappointed with Carter. But I think right now he is perfectly fine, in the way that he is kind of developed. And, he's certainly the most talented guy they've got up front and the guy that can change a game.
Yeah, he's your only game changer on that front. What did you see? Because I didn't get a chance to just do the singular cut-ups of him. Jalix Hunt.
Yeah, he's honestly, I feel like he's on the Josh Sweat plan, right? Where, year one with Josh Sweat was basically that red shirt year, and you could see the traits in like the mop-up duty that he got and some of the stuff where, okay, like you could see the length, you could see the movement skills. Obviously, Sweat had the knee injury when he was coming out of college, and so that kind of hampered him a little bit. Jalix doesn't have that. He's much more loose and limber. He can move back and reverse and coverage. He did a little bit of that in this game. I think we saw some good things. Obviously, no like whoa snaps, right? In terms of I got to post this to Twitter right away.
He had the deflection, like just watching him naked eye type of thing, and I saw a little bit of the film that I thought he was. I just liked, what I saw as far as projections wise. Like I got it. Like he obviously is a project in the whole thing, but I could see where they're going. And look, you may see a little bit more of him from what I hear. You're going to see a little more of him, second half of the season.
I think that would be good because obviously, look, with all the different things they do with their edge rushers, with Nolan Smith and dropping guys in coverage and then having them rush and defend the run, he can do all of that. Like he's got that complete skill set in that way. And when you talk about his traits, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but stick with me here. It was something like when you look at guys with his explosive jump numbers at the combine, with his length, there were like 7 or 8 players drafted in the first 3 rounds in the last decade that had those, and it was like Myles Garrett, Danielle Hunter, like 4 or 5 elite players, and then it was Jalix Hunt, right? He is in rare air from a physical trait standpoint with his length and with his juice off the ball, and so he's a great kid from everything that I've been told from people in the building. As long as he can continue to try and hone in on that technique as a rusher and learn the scheme, he's gonna be a good player for them down the road.
We were talking about it earlier. Kingsbury likes to run some hurry up here. And what's that effect like with Jordan Davis? Like we were talking about Jordan Davis and then where you can't sub him out.
It's not even like, oh yeah, they run hurry up. I want to make sure I read the number right, just because it's honestly, it's crazy. Yeah. They are running hurry up at one of the highest rates that I've seen. They're way out in front. 56.3% of their snaps are in hurry up. The second team in the league is Chicago at 28%. So you're talking literally double the team behind them. So way, way out in front. And honestly, when you look at the first 3 quarters, the professor Daniz Selman yesterday on the show, he made the point, it's like 65% in the first 3 quarters. And then they get into garbage time and they're slowing the game down. And so I think when you're looking at this offense, they want to hurry up and get on the ball. For a player like Jordan Davis, that could be an issue if he gets stuck out there, right? I think the big thing, though, that plays in the Eagles' favor, if this was the defense of weeks 1 and 2, if this was the defense of last year where they're mixing and matching packages, right? They're subbing guys out there. They've got 2 or 3 different nickel packages. They're playing their base. They're really kind of playing a package defense. That'd be a little bit more of a cause for concern. But with this team over the last 3 weeks, it's been nickel like all the time. They're matching base with nickel because Cooper DeJean's versatile skill set, they're okay with saying, hey, you know what? Like he can come down and play the run and be okay. We're not worried about him being out there and be a liability inside. And so even when the Commanders want to go with heavy personnel and play with multiple tight ends on the field, DeJean's versatility, it's not like they've got to mix and match and get guys rotating in and out. They'll be okay from that standpoint.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, special teams.
Yeah, look, I think when you look at this is a game that could be decided on 1 or 2 plays, right? And so I think when you look at it, Cooper DeJean as a punt returner, can he make some plays here in this football game? Greg brought up Austin Eckler. You want to make sure that you don't give up anything cheap there. when you look at this team a week ago, Washington, there were a couple games in that plays in that game against Pittsburgh. One that went one way. There was a dropped fake punt. You had these plays on special teams you don't want to go in your favor. So they'll have to make sure that things are buttoned up from that standpoint. We know the Eagles. Look, they've had a couple kicks blocked this year. You don't want that to be what decides this game. I do think the Eagles come out on top in this one, but this is gonna be a fun game. I'm really excited for tonight.
I know, me too. VG brought up the fact that Washington had the elevated kicker off the practice squad.
Yeah, they had their starting kicker Sly is still out, so they're still working with their backup kicker, and that's something certainly that could come into play for this one.
Joey Sly, I like it. Every time I match it up, I come up Eagles pretty handily. Like when I don't, and where the margin probably comes later. But I don't think Washington stops the Eagles, and I think they win by like 10-13.
I like the Eagles in this game too, and I'm with you. I think that there is a path here to them winning handily. The big thing that you don't want to happen is the special teams gaffe, like you mentioned, or hey, you know what? There's a pressure on it's 3rd and 6 and there's a pressure and it's a sack fumble or it's an interception, right? That's something that can tilt a game like that and really kind of tilt it in that way. I think offensively though, like I agree, the Commanders don't have the horses right now to be able to stop this Eagles offense. And I think when you look at it, they know that they had an issue in the secondary. That's why they made that trade for Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore still can't go, and so I think there's some matchups that you can exploit in the secondary. I already talked about what they can do running the football. I think the Eagles, they have the command in this game when you look at it from their offense versus that defense. It's much more good on good when you're talking about the other side of the football, one of the best defenses against one of the more explosive offenses. But that matchup is one that the Eagles can exploit in this football game.
Is it AJ with another big game, or Devontae, or is it or is it Goddard?
It's a good question. When you look at the way that they play, they're playing a lot more man coverage lately. And so now the question becomes for them, Benjamin St-Juste is a really talented cover corner, right? And he's been their number one guy for the majority of the last couple of years. He's their shadow player. Are they going to shadow him on A.J. Brown? He's got the size to be able to do that. But if that's the case, then you're going to take Mikey Sanders, still the rookie, and put him on Devontae. I like that, right? I'm okay with that matchup. I do like Sanders still as a player. Little undersized. I don't think they want him on AJ. So I think that's why I think they'll probably take St-Juste. Jeremy Chin is the strong safety. He's the tight end matchup. Defending tight ends is probably the best thing that he can do. Yeah. But I still think I like Goddard there. Across the board, I just think there's a lot of matchups here for the Eagles to win this game.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Franny, what's the gummy rating? How many gummies on this one?
I think this, to me, I just want to enjoy this one. So I don't know if for some people that might mean 3 gummies. For some people that might be no gummies, right? So that's all on your flavor there. But to me, I think if you're worried about a stress level,
yes,
I would say it's probably a 1 or 2 gummy.
All
just because it could be a close game. It's to me though that as a football fan, I can't wait for this one. This has the makings of what last Thursday night was, which was one of the best Thursday night games in recent memory.
Yeah, no, it does. By the way, 2 monster games this weekend that'll be fun, and it's great with the Eagles playing tonight. You can watch Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, Bills.
Peek out, man.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw a number. I don't have it in front of me, but it was between those 3 matchups, we haven't really had a weekend like this in a while, where you have the 3 of certainly 6 of the best teams in football going head to head in the same weekend. What's your take on Chiefs Bills? I think I'm leaning Baltimore right now in the Steelers game.
I don't think the Steelers can stop the Ravens offense. I just think that offense. They'll exploit the Steelers secondary, and I don't think Pittsburgh can keep up. Even though Baltimore's defense is not great, I just think they're so talented offensively. I don't like the matchup for Pittsburgh. So I agree with you. I like Baltimore. Man, that Chiefs Buffalo, you see it. They just win every week. I look at Buffalo, and I go, I think the Chiefs defense can handle them. I do. Now, both the added receivers, I love adding Hopkins for Kansas City because it now makes Worthy the big play guy, right? Because you know, you got Hopkins for everything else, and then you have a big play guy, which Andy likes, in Worthy, and now Worthy gets some space to work. So I think that'll work. But, man, I mean, Buffalo's nasty.
When you look at it, obviously, you know, the injuries to Buffalo's receivers, that could impact this game. It was just, I mean, Kansas City as a dog, like being undefeated, it's tough to pick against Andy in that situation, right? So I think at the end of the day, I'll probably lean Chiefs there. I do like the Ravens, like I said. I think that some people will point to, Pittsburgh, what they just did to Jaden Daniels. Can you replicate that against Lamar? I just think Lamar is just playing such good football right now. I don't think I can pick against it. He's the runaway MVP at this point. So I think you got to go.
What Todd Monken has done with him, he got him to that next level, the elite of the elite. I mean, he's ridiculous. I agree.
Here's an interesting stat. The Ravens have averaged just 14.9 points their last 8 games versus the Steelers.
Yeah.
14.9.
Wow. Yeah, they're different offense, though.
And that game always goes down to a field goal. And so, like, the 3-point line, if it fits.
Yeah. But, Frady, great stuff. Enjoy the football, brother. We'll talk next week, man. Great job.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk next week.
Freddie Films. He does a ridiculous job.
Yeah, he's so
Uncle Frank is like, he's a whiz kid. He's a whiz kid.
By the way, VJ, I don't know if you saw in the comment section, but someone said Franny's hoodies for Temple today. So there you go.
All right.
Strong.
Sure.
Cherry red.
Sure.
It did look a little burgundy.
It was a little burgundy.
I have to admit, it did look a little burgundy. You know. All right, lots to do. We got McLane. Jeffrey is coming up shortly. But first, JP, tell us a little about TrueMark.
You got it, cuz. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, we're all going to keep up with the stats here tonight, right? We're all going to be looking at Jalen Hurts' passing yards, A.J. Brown's receptions, Saquon Barkley's rushing yards. But what you can also keep in mind is your finances. So you can track everything you've been spending, because obviously in 2024, as we head to 2025, we are trying to keep up and improve upon our finances. And TrueMark Financial, they're making it super simple with you with some of their money management tools, including some of my favorite tools that they have is the mobile banking app, right? Because it's super convenient just having all your finances right at the convenience of your phone, right? You can check everything you could spending, and you can even budget, right? Especially for the sports leagues, any vacations you may be having. TrueMark Financial can help you out with that. And I love the fact that something I wish I would have had as a kid is being taught some financial responsibility at a young age. And TrueMark Financial is making it simple for our parents right now to start those discussions at early age, because it's never too early to start there. So listen, you need to start your credit union career here today. If you want some more information, you want to start your credit union career, all you got to do is visit TrueMark.com/PHLY. That's TrueMark.com/PHLY. Or there are 24 branches in this area you can absolutely walk into. They can answer any questions you have and start your credit union career right then and there. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. Shouts to TrueMark Financial for being a sponsor here today.
That's right. I know Kelly Body, the CEO, is fired up. She's a rabid Eagles fan. Let's talk about Parks Casino. We were there last night, Andrew.
That we were.
It was popping.
Always a fun time.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah, it was fun. There was a lot of good stuff. The Excite Center at Parks Casino, one of the many highlights of Parks Casino, 1,500 seat venue. Some of the best entertainment, right? The best musical acts, comedians, all go through the Excite Center. That's why Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino, located Ben Salem, Street Road exit off of 95, off the PA Turnpike. It's right there. Here are some of the acts coming to the Excite Center. Actor Richard Kind from Curb Your Enthusiasm on January 24th.
I didn't do my homework, so I didn't look up any lines. But whoa, Larry, whoa! I'll have them ready for next week.
Whoa, Larry, whoa.
Whoa, hey, whoa, hey, whoa, whoa, hey.
That's hysterical. Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains, February 8th.
I'm the man in the box.
Comedian Ron White, March 21st. Country star Lee Bryce Harper.
Oh, you know, there's a
March
rumor
22nd.
going round about me and you staring up our little town the last week or two.
You can channel a country dude.
Little twang. Hey,
Yeah.
yo, hey, yo, hey, Larry.
Tonight, Anthony, I don't know, tonight is Ezra Ray Hart, the lead singers from Sugar Ray, Better Than Ezra, Tonic joined together for an incredible night.
If you could only see the way she loves me, maybe you would understand.
Saturday night, Brett Michaels.
Oh, though I tried not to hurt you, though I tried, but I guess that's why they say every rose has its thorn.
Hey, listen, enjoy dinner and drinks before the show. Liberty Bell Gastropub, Parks Grill Steakhouse, the Bamboo Noodle House, Parks.com, ParksCasino.com.
Love it.
To buy tickets for all shows. Parks Casino, this got to how you win. You got to be 21. If gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, Zach Berman tweeting out, we know Jalen Hurts donated air conditioners for the schools. He's been donating $5,000 for every TD this season to provide more air conditioning to Philly public schools. And so far, he's at the $100,000 milestone. And he's helping their 63 more schools that need upgrades, air conditioning. And he's killing it with this.
God bless him, man. That's fantastic. That's great. Franny brought up that stat about the matchups: Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Steelers, Eagles, Commanders. Here it is. For the first time since 2020, and the second time in a decade, we got 3 matchups in which both teams have a win percentage of 70% or higher in week 11 or later.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Wow.
All right. It's game day, and I need to know all the nuts and bolts. A master of the nuts and bolts and all the insiders. He should be an ace. He is our man from the Inquirer. Does such a great job. Jeff McLane. Jeff!
Hey, guys. What's up?
Game day. You like a Thursday game?
Not on Thursday, but when there's nothing to do on Saturday and Sunday, I do.
Well, that was my question, because having a weekend off in November, especially you with a family, that's nice, right?
Yeah, it's like a mini bye. So like the turnaround's tough, especially coming off a road game. Monday, Tuesday were tough. But, hey, if the players can do it, we can do it, right?
All right, health-wise, where are the Eagles?
They're healthy. All 53 ready to go. The only guy who was limited to practice on Wednesday or what the walkthrough, so it's an estimation, the report was Devontae Smith. He's had this little hamstring thing that's been nagging him. But Jordan Mailata is clear to go. He's off IR. They opened this 21-day window on Monday, and which was a positive sign. The fact that they labeled him as a full participant that very first day told you that it was likely that he was going to be ready. So you got Jordan back in at left tackle. You have a couple other guys that have some nagging things, nagging injuries, but everyone's ready to go.
So let's talk about what's been happening during this win streak, and let's talk about Sirianni and kind of where are you at with Nick at this point? And there was so much talk, and we knew that when they were going to the bye, people are wondering, conjecture, would he keep his job? You knew that was never going to happen, but there was a lot of heat. There was people nationally, a lot of criticism, and they've been buttoned up over the last 5 games.
Yeah, and I think you and I talked about this a little bit last week. Just Nick's imprint on the team. Look, there's this kind of narrative out there that because he's not calling plays, he isn't doing anything, and that he's not involved in the offense, and that couldn't be any further from the truth. He's the head coach now. It's Kellen's base scheme, and Kellen calls the plays, but it's still a lot of the stuff that Nick has run previously, and since the bye, when they kind of had this sit down with players and with Jalen and with all the coaches about changing the direction of how the offense was being called and what plays they were emphasizing, and obviously wanted to do more of the run game, get back to a little more of what Jalen was successful doing from 21 to 23, or at least 22. We'll hold off on 23 a little bit. That's Nick's final say. He's the one that pushes for that, and a lot of that is the stuff that he and his coaches from over that period have put together for Jalen. So Nick's done a great job in that regard. On the defensive side of the ball, he gave Vic Fangio the keys to kind of do what he has wanted to do in terms of personnel changes. Get Cooper DeJean in there in the slot. Bryce Huff, less of him on rundowns. Jordan Davis, less of him on pass downs. Nick has kind of looked at the tackling issues and has been practicing them an extensive amount. You've seen more turnovers. on the defensive side of the ball. This is stuff that they've, these details that they have really emphasized, and Nick is behind all of that.
Yeah, it's funny because, and we always give the CEO credit when it's Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh, right? Those guys. But he deserves credit. I mean, look, when you're buttoned up, you make changes. That's the whole point of, you look at the first month of the season, and it's really, there's so much of a leftover from the preseason that you really need to get into it, and there's things that you got to fix and look at. And for the most part, I think that from a technical standpoint of this team on both sides of the ball, they've gotten buttoned up.
Yeah. You mentioned the CEO, head coach, and you mentioned two of the best at doing that. I'm not ready to put Nick in that company yet.
No, obviously
guys have won a Super Bowl. Yeah, I know you're not, but you're saying that this is what they do, and a lot of it goes back to the culture, the messaging, the communication, the direction of the team, who you hire beneath you. That all goes back to Nick to a certain extent. Obviously, we all know that Jeffrey and Howie factored into the decision to move on from the coordinators and to hire who they hired. But Nick is 41-19. Like, I just don't know how you can look at that record and this narrative that's been created out there, and that fans are now, so as long as you keep Nick away from the offense, or keep Nick away from, and like, I tried to explain this on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, just from talking to a lot of people in the building and players and coaches and stuff. It's like, when they made this change, that's because it's because Nick's not involved anymore. It's more just Kellen running his offense. It was the direct opposite of that. It was less of Kellen Moore's offense, and it was more of what Nick Sirianni had done in his scheme prior to Moore's arrival. And I just want to correct that narrative out there for any of your listeners or for anyone else who's out there. Now, I'm not trying to overstate what Nick has done or give him more credit than he deserves, or not say that we haven't been critical of some of the decision-making that he's made. We haven't been critical of the temperament and his issues that have popped up from time to time with, obviously with the fans behind the bench after the victory over the Browns. Like, I've pointed out those flaws that Nick has, but at the same time, you have to give credit where credit is due.
So let's go. I want to continue with the coaching staff theme, and let's go to Fangio, right? Because you've seen a marked difference. I was saying this earlier. I don't know how you feel, but in 22, they had all those sacks, but I also felt like when they played really good quarterbacks, they were very vulnerable. Now I look at the back seven and adding Mitchell and DeJean, and what DeJean has done, middle of the field as a slot corner. You can break terrific against the run. Short tackling, you've added that element, and then you got Bond and Nakobe Dean at linebacker, and that has really worked. I like this defense. Even with its toothless rush, I like this defense overall better, I think, than 22.
Well, it's being built from the back to the front versus the front to the back. Or I'm not saying it's being built, but it's performing because of the back seven more so than the front. If anything, we've seen more coverage sacks than we've seen sacks generated by the rush, as you mentioned. And that, I think, will be something that could give them struggles here down the stretch against better quarterbacks and offenses. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, certainly, look, we got an upgrade at outside cornerback with Quinyon Mitchell over James Bradbury. This we're talking about last year. Cooper DeJean already over Avonte Maddox this year. CJ's been up and down. Had a very good game against Dallas, so I want to give him credit there. And then the linebacker. I mean, the linebacker play has been really kind of key to what we've seen from the scheme, and a lot of it has to do with Vic, and he clearly, has talked about this before. It's kind of a position that he feels that maybe he can evaluate better than most. Zach Bond, he even explained to us, we've heard this before, but they brought him in to be kind of an outside linebacker, special teams type, which is what he did primarily in New Orleans. And Vic looked at the film and said, I think this guy's an off-ball linebacker in my scheme. And wow, what a projection, because that's what we've seen him play at a high level, Pro Bowl caliber level, in fact. And, last year with the linebackers, it was a mess. And Some of that was personnel. I don't think they did a very good job, clearly, and this is an area that's been an area of concern in terms of Howie Roseman and what he emphasizes defensively and or not. I kind of get his philosophy behind that, but you brought in Zach Cunningham during training camp. Nicholas Morrow got cut and eventually had to bring him back and have him play. You brought in Shaq Leonard. That was a disaster. And then Nakobe Dean got hurt early in the year. I think some of it's the scheme that's helping these linebackers out. But I think the Zach Bond clearly is playing at a higher level than any linebackers did the previous coordinators under Nick Sirianni. And that has been a huge part of why this defense is playing at the level it's playing right now.
Yeah, I forgot about the Shaq Leonard. And I remember going, he might be able to help, but he had nothing.
He was done.
He was completely cooked. Other side of the ball, tonight in the matchup, it feels like it's kind of perfect of what they do well, which is Barkley, because Washington struggles against the run, and then over the top. So it's Barkley. They're going to play a lot of man on you. And so, you got AJ or you got Devontae with a heavy dose of Barkley.
Yeah, so Washington's defense is not great. The overall numbers aren't great. What I will say is that they have been playing better this last month versus that first. It was kind of disaster. Not disaster. They were still winning, but it wasn't, that Dan Quinn scheme takes a little time. He was trying to implement that. Some new players having never played it before in the back end. But you're right. I mean, they went and traded for Marshawn Lattimore, and he's not going to be playing. He still has a hamstring injury. That was the one area they definitely needed to upgrade on that defense, and he's not available. So AJ and Devontae are going to have some pretty big advantages on the outside, especially if as you mentioned, especially in man coverage. If they're not getting help over top, now they're going to have. They're certainly going to do something to bracket either of those receivers. But this is what you have. This is why you have those two guys, and you pay them, because if one guy gets bracketed, then certainly the other guy is going to have opportunity to be open, and then of course you have Dallas Goedert. And you mentioned Saquon in the run game. Washington's run defense has not been great. Daron Payne is a really good interior defensive lineman, but he just hasn't kind of done the work against on the ground that we've seen in the past. Bobby Wagner is still, into his 13th season, but he knows that scheme as well as anybody. The scheme that Pete Carroll created in Seattle with the Seahawks, and Dan Quinn was at one time the defensive coordinator under him, and brought it to everywhere else that he's gone. That 4-3 under front that they run. Wagner is a guy you're going to want to double, get to the second level and keep him, away from Saquon. But the Eagles have obviously an advantage on that side of the ball. But as well as the Eagles defense has played, against Daniels and some really good receivers, and certainly that we know Zach Ertz and a good run game. I think this could be a high-scoring affair.
Hey, Jeff, this week on your podcast, you had talked about Devontae Smith and how his targets have gone down pretty significantly on this winning streak. And he has made it known during the Jacksonville game to the coaches he wanted the ball more, and Jalen kind of reiterated that. You said when you talked to Devontae, he is cool with this as long as they're winning. Do you think he is cool with this if this trend continues, and it'll be fine as long as they're winning?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can't complain. And Devontae's certainly a team guy. He's in terms of the receivers that I've covered over the years. He's there's no diva in Devontae. But that being said, like a lot of receivers, he wants the ball, especially if you're as confident and as skilled as he is, and he just wants to help the team out. And I think that's kind of his messaging. If it's not working with AJ, or if it's not working on the ground, hey, I'm probably getting open at some point. If you run the stuff that I know how to, and there's a lot of stuff that he can run in which he gets open. Now, if things start to go sideways, then you're probably going to hear a different tune at him. Maybe not publicly, but behind the scenes. Get him the ball. There's a lot of opportunities, not only downfield, but those option routes that he runs as well as anybody in the NFL. He's just so good at reading coverages and using leverage and turning cornerbacks around. So he can get open in one-on-one situations almost as well as AJ. AJ's a little better, I think, because he has a little more variety, and he can do stuff after the catch. But it all comes down to whether you're winning or losing. But I mean, that's something that we're gonna have to watch here, because as I mentioned earlier, I mean, this is right now a run-based offense. It's about Saquon setting up the pass. And we saw in this past game against the Cowboys, they kind of got away from that a little bit. And Jalen dropped the pass 21 times. And, what happened in that first half? He got sacked 5 times and he had 2 turnovers. Now, that wasn't all on Jalen, but that, puts additional pressure on the offensive line. And I think what best suits this offense is to just kind of make sure you have some balance there early on, because you have Saquon, but you have to be careful. You don't want to neglect those outside receivers because they're so good, and I think that's what you're going to see tonight. Kellen Moore likes to throw it, and Nick likes to throw it too, but they can't just kind of get in that fog of war that we've seen happen here plenty of times with previous coaches and with the current.
That's not Jalen. Jalen's not a guy you want. You want to drop Jalen back, 20 to 27 times. Like, that's the window that you want him in. I don't want any more of that. And again, it's not a slight, because listen, that throw he makes downfield, drop it in a bucket, it's a money throw. But the only way you get that done is if you run Barkley, and then you get man on the outside.
Exactly. And, that's the formula that got them to the Super Bowl in 2022. Yeah, there were games where Jalen had to drop back and throw it a bunch because it's close games or they're behind in the second half. Hey, I totally understand that. And he can do that. But I think over the long haul, if you step back and look at it collectively, it's not something you want to do all the time with Jalen, because then I think that's where you start to see some of the deficiencies that he has when he does drop, of, sometimes not making the right reads, seeing the field, letting the pressure get to him, holding the ball a little too long. And then at times when he kind of gets in that mental state, not doing his mechanics, holding the ball with 2 hands like he has to. I thought, he's a really good quarterback, and what he showed against Dallas was impressive too, because he had the fumble, one hand on the ball, next drive, drives him all the way down, and he gets there's that free rush right at him, and 2 hands on the ball, eyes down the field, steps up, throws a strike to Dallas and gets the touchdown. So I think when it kind of snapped him into the mental state that he needed to be, based off that mistake. So at least he was able to learn from this mistake. But the issue is sometimes when he starts to get pressured a lot, he kind of resorts to that old school football, or not old school football, but like the way that he kind of played growing up.
Playground,
It's hard, like what you saw with Michael Vick for years. He just couldn't shake the old, the old position that he had grown playing up, which was running back. Jalen's always been a quarterback, but he'd been a running quarterback to a great extent in high school.
When you think Eagles Washington, what comes to mind?
I wrote this in my review. I mean, how long has it been since these two teams have faced and they've been among the better teams in the NFC? Over 20 years.
Yeah.
Now there were some games late in seasons when they were, I think like Washington won with like 7-9 record one year, or 7-8-1. And there was another time where the Eagles were kind of still hanging around, and it meant something. I think 2015, right before it was that Eagles lost that game. Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Jackson tuned them up, and they lost it, and Chip Kelly got fired a few days later. But for the most part, I mean, me growing up in this area, I mean, the body bag game, I guess, is probably the number one Eagles Washington game. There were still some good ones over the years that I covered the team, that it wasn't like there was a lot on the line, but you saw some. I mean, I'll never forget Carson coming out and throwing that deep pass to Nelson Aguilar in 2018. That kind of signaled where that team was going that season and how well he would play.
Yeah. He also made that crazy, we showed it earlier, that crazy play, right? He made
third and whatever. He kind of like somehow the scrum around him, he somehow escaped and ran for a first down. And that was funny. Like, that was like one of many plays for Carson that season, that when things were going downhill in 2020, I asked someone inside the building, but what was going on, blah, blah, blah. And they were relatively new to the staff. And they said, Well, I went back and looked at that season just to how can we get him playing like he did in 2017? And he was like, look, he had a great year that year, but like I don't think people realized how I don't want to say lucky, but how many of those plays and those games are hinged on him doing kind of freaky, weird things on 3rd and longs. And it was kind of like you can't sustain that. And then we're seeing kind of a little bit of that this season. Not to get off track here, but
right. No, that's fascinating. Were you were on the beat when Andy traded Donovan to Washington?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of involved in all of that. That was my first like kind of full off season on the beat, and yeah, I had a pretty good beat on that early in the offseason. That they were trying to trade him. I'll never forget when I was down the owners meetings in March. Both Andy and Joe Banner came to me and said. It was like I wasn't even prompted. They're like, I forget how they phrased it, but they made it very clear to me that they were, like they wanted this out there because they had been talking to several teams, the Rams, the Washington, obviously, and I even talked to Mike Shanahan at the bar. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
There's a gaggle of us reporters. We're in Orlando at the owners' meetings at the Ritz. And Mike Shanahan, and I was still new, but he was talking to all of us and explaining a lot about quarterback play to us. And at one point, I'd asked him, "Well, what about Donovan?" And he took a crap on him. And I was like, "Well, that takes Washington out of the equation." And but that later told you he had nothing to do with that trade. Right. He didn't want him. But it was interesting that they were. Who was later,
that was a Daniel Snyder thing?
It was the Allen.
Bruce Allen. Yeah.
Bruce Allen. I mean, Snyder wanted it too. It was Snyder and Allen. They basically just overruled Shanahan, so he was stuck with them.
Do you remember when he came back and Washington beat the Eagles early in the season, and Donovan he threw for like 88 yards. And he was like shoving it in game ball. It's like, dude, you were a passenger in that game.
Yeah, I mean, look, they knew that Donovan was kind of shot, and I remember the Easter morning trade.
Yeah,
that was an interesting offseason, and we went down to Donovan's first news conference at Washington, and they tried to like hand out microphones. They didn't want to let any of the Philly reporters talk. And Ruby Frank and I just started barging out questions. And people were like very upset with us because that's how we roll, right?
Damn right, brother.
Speaking of that's how you roll, Jeff, you got this cool stoic exterior. You ask the hard questions that sometimes makes fans think you hate the franchise. Sometimes you come out with a prediction like this week where, you might have the Commanders winning. To get to know you a little more, I'm a music guy. If you had an at-bat song, what would a Jeff McLane at-bat song be?
Oh, wow.
His son's a great baseball player.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that the White Stripes, Seven Nation Army, that's a good one, I guess, if I was a reliever coming out of the bullpen. I have a really diverse kind of taste in music. Maybe something from like something African beat, maybe Talking Heads, something like that. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if it get the crowd juiced up, but yeah.
Talking Heads would work for you.
Sure, I'm not gaining any additional fans here because I always assume that but anyway, just a real quick, I always feel like if every reader or fan or everybody kind of agreed with the way I cover the team, then I'm not doing my job the way I'm supposed to be doing it. And that I always feel like if the Eagles don't ask me to do certain things or like me or something like that, then I'm not doing my job. Because therefore I'm basically just covering the team through Kelly Green colored glasses, which is not my job. My job is to be neutral and to be objective and to good or bad report what's going on with this team. And I have reported some stuff that maybe not reflect well upon the team or the players, et cetera. But Jesus, I'd say the large majority of what I report, because the team has been successful in the 16, 17 years I've covered the team. There's a lot of those stories, and there's a lot of that kind of reporting as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I love what you do and how you do it.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to. Yeah, you brought it up, and I just always feel like, and I think there's a lot of people that appreciate that type of report. Like I always feel like, why cover the team that way? I said, well, how can you trust what I'm reporting or what I'm writing if you felt a certain way about the team, good or bad, right? So that's behind it. But that goes back to, Anthony knows as well as anybody, that goes back to how we learn to be journalists.
That's right. And that's why today I could wear a Kelly Green hoodie, because I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not doing what Jeff does.
No, back when you were doing my job, you were not.
I was not. And there is no one I respect more. I've told Jeff, I've known Jeff for 20 years. He's the best.
Yep.
Yeah, I love him. I'm a huge fan of him. And there's a reason why I ask him to be a part of everything that I do. Whatever show.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Anthony, because Anthony, I always say this, like, you ask the best questions when I come on. I've been on so many shows. Anthony asks the best. Because he's just smart. And he just asks the questions that like need to be asked about this team, beyond just like the fanboy type of stuff, or just like looking at things, because you can look at it next level, and you talk to people, so you know what's going on with the team. So it's just good to have a conversation. It's more of a conversation than it's an interview.
Brother, we love you. Enjoy the weekend. All right?
Yeah.
Enjoy the weekend with the family.
I'll enjoy the game tonight.
I know you will. I know. You're the best,
It's gonna be a
buddy.
good one. Yeah, I picked the Commanders, but like my other colleagues always seem to pick the Eagles. So like the least thing I like doing is making predictions. Like I'm not good at it, number one, and I don't want people thinking I'm leaning a certain way about how I cover the team. So I may stop doing it, in fact, actually. But just report. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good close game with scoring. I think this will be the first game in a long time the Eagles lose, and you could say, all right, we lost a good one.
You know what? It's interesting. I like the Eagles tonight, and I like them actually by a little margin too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Only because, like, I look at, Washington's coming off a tough game, like a physical game against Pittsburgh, tough game against Pittsburgh. Eagles had a more of a vacation than a business trip in Dallas. And I look at the matchups, and I see Barkley, and it is not like some, great football guy, but I see Barkley having a big game, and I just think they match up in that sense. Lattimore, if he's playing, it's a little different, but between Barkley and attacking, like, I think it's a Devontae game tonight. Like, St. Juice is going to be on.
I wrote that.
AJ.
I wrote that in my prediction, and that's why I did the Devontae thing on the podcast. Like, I feel like this could be the game that you see. They're going to bracket. They're going to bracket AJ and Devontae. This could be the game where you see him getting like 10 catches for like 100 and something yards.
Totally. My brother, you're the best, man. Love you, pal. Thanks,
All
pal.
right, talk to you guys.
There he is.
Thanks.
Jeff McLane. Jeffrey. It's interesting insight that you asked, VG, because a lot of times people don't understand that piece of it, and the messenger is an issue, but that's not. He does it the way it's supposed to be. It's the way we were taught. Yeah. Impartial, completely impartial.
He's great at it.
I respect it. All right, our right aid back in the day. Andrew.
We're going back. We're going back. We're going back in the day with Rite Aid. Yeah!
All right, folks. What do we got?
All right, so again, we're trying to get back into the mood of this, right? And I told you there's one way you got to play tonight. It's physical, punch in the mouth type of football. I've been watching some Washington stuff. They're ready for this game. So I want to go back to September 21st, 2014. Now, for Andrew and I's generation, this should get us fired up. You guys remember this game. I'm sure you guys remember after you guys see this clip here. So this was a time Deshaun Jackson just got traded to Washington, right? Or he went to Washington. And so Chris Baker, the former defensive lineman for Washington, had an interesting play after this interception by Nick Foles. And let's check it out here.
Foles keeps it, throws it too high, and he is picked off. They're going to give it to Braylon. And Braylon is down
All right, so there you guys see at the bottom of the screen there.
At the end of the play, Foles is down.
And then this is what it all comes out.
Injured. And a fight breaks out.
Going back and forth.
I forgot about this game. It's a good bust out, man.
And then Jason Peters, cause.
That's right. The Sheriff.
That's right. And it's funny because Trent Williams is in this too, which is not surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the play in slow-mo. Dude, that's gotta hurt, man.
Oh, blind side like that?
Took a
that
shot.
rattles your insides.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. So, yeah, I want to bring that here tonight, because I know Washington coming and ready to play. I want Philly to match that. And listen, we have show we're a physical team. I'm ready for it tonight, cuz.
I like it. Well, that's a great, I love that. That's a great back in the day moment. All right. Oh, look at this.
Who could that be?
It's the one, the only, Black Gritty.
Yo, cuz, VG.
I love the get up.
VG, I got some charcuteries.
I
got some pepperoni and shice on top of a Ritz cracker. I don't know if I can get invited to the party, but I mean, I'm trying to do my best. This is luxury snacking at its finest. You know what I mean?
That's
I'm ready for the
way to
night.
go.
You know what I mean? Cuz I let my hair down. It's Thursday night. I'm ready to rock, cuz. Let me tell you something. So everything, this is why I listen to Cuz. Cuz is like me. You know, great minds think alike. They just got smacked up by the Steelers. They got a short week. We're at home. Tonight is the night that the Eagles defense gets some credibility. Now, you only play who's on the schedule. Oh, the Eagles haven't played anybody. The Commanders haven't played anybody. Well, 2 7-and-something teams are about to play each other. So shut up and sit down and buckle up. They're about to come in here and get Quintanamo Bade, you know what I mean? They're about to get that Dijon put all up on them, and the defense is going to show them that we can shut them down. So the offense that scores 29 points a game, okay, we'll see what happens tonight. Our offense, they're going against one of the worst defenses in the league, cuz they're going to be eating on the ground. They're going to be eating on the air. There's going to be cheese and crackers everywhere, cuz we're going to be snacking tonight, brother. I'm not playing no games, all right? Tonight, Thursday night, I love primetime. They've been flexing us out. Well, go ahead and flex on them tonight, cuz, and go get this George W. for your boy. I guarantee a victory. And I usually don't even give a score. I used to have it here. I don't even give a score. 37-17. The score keeps going up for me, cuz I was at 34-17 yesterday. Now we're at 37.
It's a pepperoni game.
It's the pepperoni game. And I'm going to tell you what I say. Go back!
Black Birds! There he is. Always great.
Awesome,
Game day with Black Gritty. All right.
Hey. I just checked Bet Parks. -4 it's up to.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's go.
There it is. All right. Prediction. Frazier. What do you got?
34-28.
34-28.
Birds.
I like it. JP.
I got a 28-23 victory for the Birds.
28-23. Look at that.
The 28s are in house here.
All right, VG.
We know how Nick feels about kicking field goals sometimes, so none. 35-31.
35-31. All right. I like it. I give you a 34-21.
Oh, all right.
All right. That's right.
We all feel good.
Yep.
Yeah, 13 points.
Yeah, I feel it. We all feel it. Everybody enjoy the game tonight. As the man said, go Birds!
Go Birds!
Let's go.
We all silly like the mayor.